Hey, good morning to you. Good morning to wherever you are. I know that you're up bright and early wherever you are and whatever time it is. It's salsa time somewhere. It is Cinco de Mayo, and I, your most favorite of hosts, am talking with HanK and Sharyn. And they are what people call real PR marketing people. They're of Yulof Industries, or what we call, well, anyway, I will introduce them in just a moment. I just want to talk some top 5 stories we might talk about. We're going to talk about what if your product kills you? How did you get banned off of Facebook, and how do I get back on? How do I get out of Facebook jail, maybe, right? We can talk a little bit about Google's 20% work week. Yeah, 20% of all workers will now stay home. But now we're just gonna get right on with our guest co-host for the day, something like that. Anyway, hey guys, how you doing? This is Michael. Are you there from Sedona? Is that you? Right? Can you hear me? Are we okay?
Yes, we are in Sedona, Arizona, 2 hours north of beautiful hot Phoenix.
So basically, it's taco land, right? I mean, is there like a restaurant that you would be at today, right now, if you weren't with me right now? What's the favorite food out there? Say ramen.
Let's see.
Well, our favorite is really a local diner, but not necessarily, Cinco de Mayo
we
flavor.
Can't tell you the local place because then all the tourists will go there.
Okay, well, tell us your local place anyway. We'll ruin them for a day. I mean, yes. I mean,
oh man,
we're up to 1,000 people. We got almost 1,500 people off the last little clip that we did. So that's just off the clip.
When you come to Sedona, you've got to go to Red Rock Cafe. They're only open for breakfast and lunch.
Breakfast and lunch. Okay. I have barbecues that are like that. You get there at 8 o'clock in the morning so you can have dinner. So you get there and you know. Anyway,
wow.
So what we really we brought you on is because you're experts in stuff. Yeah. In this little conversation, we have a little over 100 years of experience of PR experience. And so because she's only 22 years old, that means it's you and me, HanK, right? So that's how So anyway,
yes, I followed the Matt Gaetz school of dating, and I grabbed Sharyn when she was a teen.
I see.
Good grief!
It's going to be one of those sessions.
I think that would be like, she's in HR. She does HR work. So what do you do with somebody who's showing, this guy, and he's 35 years old, and he's showing his friends pictures of naked girls that are underage girls and stuff, and says, "Yeah, I was with her."
Allegedly.
That's true, because if you're going to pay somebody on a public Venmo or something like that, you are alleged, right? And you call her Vintage 99, something like that. Anyway, but what do you do with there's got to be toxic workers and people. I mean, people don't really have. I've gone to a lot of businesses where they don't have a crisis plan, except they're calling the lawyer because it's too late. How do we let's talk about that. What are some things that we have to have from a communication standpoint that every office should have? Like break glass, call Mike. Besides that,
we wrote a book about human resources, and Sharyn talks about it in that book.
Yes.
And right. It's on Amazon right now, right? I mean,
it is.
And it will be listed on our website under books, preferred books, maybe, if they'll get us the stuff over to us. Yeah. Anyway, so what's the book called? What's the book?
Small Business Human Resource Secrets.
Okay. Okay. And what's the biggest secret?
Document. You're used to real estate being all about location, but in HR, it's all about documentation.
So if somebody's acting inappropriately, you write it down like a narc sheet. This is what he did at this time. How would you do that? Let's do that. I happen to work for Matt Gaetz, and I think he's being inappropriate, and I'm in the office kind of person, right? And I don't want to get fired and lose my job. But on the same time, I can't be around this, right? What do you do? Because
you go talk to HR.
Stop. You talk to HR. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. In this case, the House of Representatives really does have a human resources department that any of the staff people can go talk to.
Okay. Now HR's talked to him. He's literally been talked to and says, rein it in, right? And he doesn't do it, and you can't fire that guy because some people you just can't.
Why can't you?
Because he's a congressman. I mean, because he's got stock or something. I don't know. What are things you can't fire people? You can always fire somebody. Is that what you're saying? You can always find a way for an exit door for someone.
If you and document it. Because here's the challenge: if you don't document it, then they can more easily file a wrongful termination suit. If you have it all documented and you go to court, you can say, "Look, we did talk about it. We talked about it here. We sent him to training. We offered him training. He chose not to go." I mean, there's all sorts of things that you could do along that continuum. But if you don't have it documented, it didn't happen.
Okay, documenting. There was an oil spill that happened just a while ago, and basically they traced over the stuff, and they said that the Gulf of Texas, right, where the Texas is, where
Gulf of Mexico.
Yes, but I was trying to pretend I went to public school. Now, stop it. So anyway, so they literally they hand scrawled over that. They talked about, you know, the animals and the flora and fauna, like, you know, walruses and stuff like that. And they just did that. They had this cozy relationship. You find out about that, like, because they're supposed to have people, you know, inspecting and stuff. And they just keep handing it in for years. What, you come into something like that, do you quit that job that day? Or do you say, well, I am getting paid a lot of money. What's the PR person responsibility at that point?
Oh,
well, on the public relations point of view, the challenge is, and you alluded to this earlier, companies of any decent size really do need to have their contingency plans in advance. The term public relations gets used incorrectly quite often. It isn't a reactionary situation. In this case, let's talk about BP or any large theoretical oil company. They've got to have a plan in advance. What could happen? And this is for any small business. You know, what could happen in our business? What possible things could go wrong? And let's role play it out. Let's sketch it out. What would, you know, if I want to use a closer example. You are a auto parts store.
Okay.
And you can't control all of the auto parts that you got. Right. However, you can document where every part comes from so that if there is a challenge, it's, you know, we have worked with that supplier for this many years. We have gotten this many parts from them. This is the first time this has happened. It's a surprise to us. And what we want to do is fix it by doing this. You never want to stonewall. Telling the truth is always the best defense, even if you did mess up. Let's say in that same example, one of your employees packaged the part wrong. You know, when you repackage it, you say, you know what? We blew it. And honest to God, that's what insurance is for. You pay your insurance and you stay in front of it. There was a food chain in the United States that had a challenge with one of the products that they put in one of their food. There, is that general enough?
And it's not a Mexican food place, and it's
I wouldn't pretend to know. Yeah. But the challenge was they hardlined it. Wasn't us. You know, that song, It Wasn't Me. Well, look, evidence to the contrary. So the best way you can use public relations in the proper way is to have your contingency plans. And all sorts of things can come up. One of the reasons that we aren't doing live events right now is even with COVID cases dropping, if we put 50 people into a ballroom and we hold the small business breakthrough boot camp that we do a couple of times a year, if we do that live right now, if anyone there were to fall ill,
God forbid,
got COVID, whether or not they got it at our event there's going to be some lawyer that's going to say, okay, tell me every place you've been in the last 3 weeks. And we show up on the list. So for us, the public relations play could have been, we go through, we have an event and we give everyone a mask twice a day, a fresh mask, and we give them their own hand sanitizer. So that's us being proactive. But according to our legal department, if someone gets ill, we get sued whether they got sick or not. So the proper way to use public relations is to look at all sides before you do something.
There's an interesting argument with the lawyers. So I say, tell the truth first, control the story, because it'll save yourself some money, time, pain, whatever.
Absolutely.
You come out like that, right? But then the lawyer says, but you'll be liable. And here's what I'll say. I told you not to do that. Here's the, and I says, and so I'm wondering, can we contain this story? Let's just say we had a fictional disease, and that they were having this conversation through emails in the federal government, and they said, well, it's better to get these people infected, And then on the other side, they were told, this guy goes on with, like, say a reporter, say he writes books, and he's arguing back and forth with the president about, you can't do this. And the president comes out and says, well, it's airborne. It's the worst kind. And the president thinks that's the best idea to, just minimize it, But everybody in his office says that's what we call a bad idea. Don't do that. We're in government. Like, I know that if you're an information officer in the Army and you lie, you get to go to jail. You'll probably be shown the door, but you might be going to jail. And so what do we do with government? Is it different with government officials? Is it different with a corporation?
You hold an election. you hold an election, and
elections have consequences.
Look, if the honest to God truth is that if you are looking at our last election in this country from a completely apolitical point of view or a nonpartisan point of view, if the politics of it had been taken out, and if the word hoax had never been used, our former president would probably still be president now.
Okay.
Because if he had listened to his public relations department and said, look, this isn't our fault. We get it. You're right, sir. But why don't we mitigate it instead of lying about it? And if he did something really great. They fast tracked and tried to help out with vaccines. Good job. But then they wanted to mitigate any possible challenge of anything being wrong happening and being a reflection on the federal government. So they gave it to the states. If the federal government had said, hey, we're going to fix this and we're all in this together. And yeah, we might stumble, but a little bit, but we're going to make this right. So go along with us. You'd still be president.
Okay.
It's all in how you get in front of the story and tell the truth.
Frame
it.
Okay. So let's take a shot at some of our favorites. So there was a company that makes exercise equipment, right? And so they got shut down. They were ordered to recall, according to the Wall Street Journal today. Peloton was told, because they were selling like gangbusters. They were.
Oh yeah.
COVID's been very, very good to them.
Yeah, COVID very, very good to them.
Right. And a lot of things like Netflix is like, oh my God, keep this going forever. We're fine. But
although Netflix is finding out that they're not the only game in town, and they have to watch their marketing model.
Well, Disney's trying to help them as much as they can. Trust me. They're doing everything to Star Wars that make it anyway, and they destroyed and then they're trying to destroy Star Trek at the same time. So good for you. Good. Anyway, yes. See, if you can do it like that, yes. Okay. So if you can't, if you're hearing this, we're holding our Vulcan peace signs up to each other. So I don't care where you are, you should be able to get good information and stuff. So anyway, so now Peloton, babies were lifting up the thing. The other things were happening. This could be avoidable. I think this should be this should have been avoidable from a PR standpoint. Say, you know, we don't expect little babies to be around our equipment. This is, or something. I don't know.
I haven't read the story yet. Is that what they said?
No,
there's no way they said that.
No, he's saying I should have said that.
No, not at all.
You just say, I mean, there's tons of disclaimers on all sorts of things. We don't own a Peloton, so we don't know what their disclaimers are, but often they say things like, you know, not to be operated by children under X years old, or, you know, don't leave your children unsupervised around the device.
Okay.
And part of that story is, you know what, we're going to make it right. And by the way, we've got X thousand other pieces that are out there that are operating just fine. So if you've got our equipment, watch your email. We're going to be sending you some updates on safety tips. And, you know, there are a lot of things they can do and again, to mitigate. And that's one of those things that you have your risk management people in. Okay, tell us all the things that could go wrong. Okay. And you listen to your public relations people as they say, hey, look, if this goes wrong, this is, you know, here's the story that's pre-written. You plug in all the information. The smartest public relations people already have the articles written, including quotes, and you fill in the blanks.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the public relations guy and those are the accountants and I'm the enemy. I'm the marketing. They act like I'm stealing their money or something. I don't know. But how do we overcome that? Because a lot of times it says, well, how much is it going to cost? As this is going to cost what it takes, you know, and what's the exact answer of how much money we're going to make? How well it's carried out, stuff like that. How we say, client, these are some of the, these are realistic expectations. I just had this, we have 800 users. I'd like to have 10,000 users by the end of the month. And I'm going, and they all are paid subs, right? Yes, that's what our goal is. And you're willing to pay, you know, are you willing to pay $50 per sub? No, I'm not. So, you know, stuff like that. So, what I'm thinking is how do we set expectations? What can public relations do or marketing do?
Understand that it starts in the boardroom.
Okay.
And
three guys, you know.
I hear you. But let's look at Tylenol.
Okay.
We're now 25 years past their date of, you know, we had a problem. It all comes back. Period. End of story. Saved the brand. You look at other brands that stonewall it and they disappear. So if you are doing business the right way, the challenge is to turn a negative into a positive for you and to show that you're a good corporate citizen. Good corporate citizens get rewarded, and the public relations department needs to constantly remind the C-suite of that little situation that, you know, if you do the right thing, you get rewarded, especially in America. You know, people that admit to challenges and say we're going to do better get another chance.
Okay. What about there's always another go around, right? Is that you could always reinvent yourself. There's people that have had terrible chance in career. So what about the people that are not so big, but they tweeted something on an airplane, and in 8 hours they found out that they're fired, their stuff are boxed up. Is that an overreaction by the company?
Nope.
Hey, we can't have this.
Don't do stupid shit.
Keep it. Don't do stupid shit. Yeah.
We just let a URL go, and that URL was wealldostupid.com.
Yes.
And
I could make reels for that.
And part of it is you're setting expectations with employees. Hey, well, you know, let me give you a better example. I just finished a 25-year term on the board of directors of a chamber of commerce in Los Angeles. And the standing rule was, if any member of the press comes to any member of the board and asks the chamber's opinion, the answer is talk to the CEO. And it's always made very clear. As a board member, you do not speak for the organization. You may not speak for the organization. You may not use the name of the organization. If you, for example, support a candidate, you cannot say that, John Smith, member of the board of this chamber of commerce, you cannot use it. So we very proactively every year have the conversation with the entire board. Just a reminder, you're on the board, but you don't speak for the board. And if you're an employer, you have that exact same conversation. Do not speak for the company.
It better be in the handbook.
Yeah. And you put in your handbook. Your employee handbook covers your tail, which brings it right back to human resources.
That's right.
Yeah. There are many things that even a small company can do to cover themselves.
So,
and educating your employees is one of them.
So basically, every time I've heard you talk, you say, bring it back to HR. So I've got this brown bag. It's lit, it's on fire, and I put it on HR's doorstep, right? That's what you're saying to do.
No. He was saying that the conversation brought it back to HR. He's not saying, not everything is HR related. The oil spill isn't necessarily an HR relation.
It's being proactive and assuming that if you assume some stuff is going to go wrong, what would you do if it went wrong? Okay, what if I have an employee that has their own social media account and thinks they're going to say something about the company? Well, all right, that could happen. Let's tell all employees, hey,
don't do that.
Don't take a stand for the company. You can say you work for the company, it can go in your bio, but that's it.
What if they have their own social media account and I don't know, they're just kind of wacko? Okay.
If it's in the handbook, in advance and they do that, they are fired. Period. End of story.
Well, there's another step. Yes, it's in the handbook, and you've gotten them to sign off that they they received and read the handbook, and then you don't usually fire them on the first go round. Usually, HR would say no because you haven't documented. So usually, you have to be able to say, remember paragraph X, we said don't do that. You did that. And I'm going to put this note in the file. We're having this conversation on this date. You're going to sign off that we had this conversation. You're not admitting that you were wrong. You're just agreeing that we had a conversation. I'm sitting right here in your office. We're having a conversation. And that's going to go in your file. The next time, okay, you've been warned. That's it.
Okay. So you're nicer than I am.
It's not nice. It's keeping the employer out of being litigated for wrongful termination.
Okay, so we always have to keep the lawyers in our heads. Apparently,
unfortunately, we live in a very litigious society.
Yes, but my best one is a story where I'm on the phone with the New York Times right now, lawyer. Is there anything you'd like to say, or you just say, let's talk about it? Shouldn't you always assume that when you're talking to a reporter that you're being recorded at that moment?
Yes,
of course.
Yes.
Hot mic moments should never happen because you're never.
It's always hot.
Yeah. From the moment that we sit down in our Zoom studio for every podcast that we appear on, from the moment we log in, we assume recording is going. Okay. Because on our microphone, the light's on. So we assume, mic's hot.
Okay. I just say that. And so when we move to, okay, let's just say somebody in my company did something stupid and got us banned on Facebook or Twitter. It could be lots of things could happen. I could spell ship with a T. I could do different things. It was an accident, right? It was not deliberate, but you know what? It got a couple million views or something, right?
Cool. We see the marketing department says, really? We got a couple of million views? Cool.
Do it again.
Let's say, hey,
did the right people watch it?
Hey, we're sorry we made this mistake, and we're so sorry that he said this instead of that. But if you want to see it, you'd have to go to our Facebook page because we're going to take it down in 24 hours. Yeah, no. You apologize, you move on. Mistakes do happen.
See, I tried to work for the government recently, and I could fact check and I could spell check, and I use Grammarly, and it would cause what we term as a hostile work environment. You know, I what about that? Like what about we're going to do misspellings, or I know a certain Senator Lee that does misspellings in his releases, and I've gone after him a couple times for it, just because it's misspelling, you know, just because you can't be bothered, you know, you can't. Don't you have somebody on your staff that can spell, you know? And what really makes it bad, I think he went to Harvard or something. He clerked for a Supreme Court judge. I'm not saying that makes it worse, but it does to me. Anyway, what about that? Or who writes for the company? Can anybody write for the company that we are, or
not usually? No. Usually there's a point person, and it's people know who the point person is. And if you don't know who the point person is, I promise you it's not you.
Yeah.
So even if you own the business, you should be like, or whatever. I've dealt with doctors, and I'm like, dude, you don't want to go out there. See how they're salivating for you to go on that microphone.
No, go back to the chamber example. The only person that speaks for the chamber is the CEO. Now, the CEO has both lawyers that were on the board at the same time on speed dial, along with me. Okay. And we hash out, what are we going to say? Okay. But she's the only one that's going to go out there and say it.
Okay. Yeah. I just know that I know those guys. They know me. I will get them. If they get after.
Well, see, I don't necessarily look at.
You know what
I wouldn't look at it from the point of view that I want to get them. I would report on the truth of what they were saying.
Yes, but but if you're a stand-up comic too, you know that you can. Anyway, what about? We'll edit that. Anyway, so
what about? Yeah. If you say what about 3 times,
Rumpelstiltskin shows up.
Yeah.
But it's better than saying Now my brother thought,
or
this is a cute story. My brother thought that
will be the judge of that.
Do what I do, right? So I called KRO in San Francisco. He lives in San Francisco. He knows what it is. It's only like 50,000 watts. Goes out 12 miles to sea. Right? And I said, Carl, you went to college. I'm going to let you talk about your company for about 3 minutes on KRO. Right? I just set it up kind of thing because we're doing tech hiring and stuff. And he said 13 times, and he was on the debate team. It's a little bit different when somebody shoves their microphone in your face, and you have to speak like an intelligent human being.
Eloquently.
It doesn't matter if you're practicing being a politician. Public speaking is important. If I have a client and I want them to do a decent job, or at least not embarrass themselves, what are some of the things that you guys do with somebody to bring them through that process?
Practice.
Is it practice? Is it just practice?
We always say, practice with us first. First, send us what do you think you're going to say? Let's wordsmith it, and then shoot a video. Pretend that you're being given that microphone. Send us the video, and let's practice.
Okay, and then we practice, and we do extemporaneous speaking. We do different topics. We do things like that.
Well, one of our private coaching clients was going to be speaking on stage. And we said, send us your slides before you go on stage. You're going to do a presentation. And I'm going through his slides, and he's talking to people about their financial future. And I'm looking at the slides, and he happened to mention that Anita Baker just died without a will. I said, or Anita Franklin. I said, wait a minute, don't you mean Aretha Franklin? So having another set of eyes, and that's what we do as business coaches. We're the second set of eyes. We looked at it and saved him all sorts of
grief.
Yeah.
Or it's like Corinthians or 2 Corinthians or something like that. I think you should be aware of your audience a little bit about who you're speaking to and what they might say.
Yes. I have made that mistake. And fortunately, I own the only video of that presentation, and it will never be on YouTube.
I have your wife available, and I think for a certain amount of money. No, she won't do it. She won't do it.
How much you got? Double it.
Let's kickstart it. anyway, yeah. So yeah, we make mistakes all the time, and as you said, everybody does something stupid. What about how about rule breaking? Okay, there, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram was owned by Facebook, and even LinkedIn have different rules for different people. How should we address like leaders of state? Should a like Tony Blair, let Tony Blair talk? That's what my rule was. Bush, Tony, let Tony talk. You know, how do we are there's different rules?
Wait a minute. These are all private companies. Wow. The first, if we're talking First Amendment type stuff here, understand that all four of those companies you just mentioned, they're all private. You don't have to use them. Okay. You don't have to be on Facebook. You don't have to be on Instagram. Those profiles are free. And when you sign on, you click the terms of service, you own nothing and they owe you nothing.
So you're saying that even though that they've become ubiquitous, that it is necessary to get your message.
Yeah. Look, ubiquitousness doesn't matter. Air is ubiquitous.
It's true.
And when people get pissed at Facebook, and I'm a victim of this, I've been in Facebook jail a lot because their algorithms don't pick up sarcasm. Oh, well, I don't have to be on Facebook. I could turn off my account, but I happen to like using it to generate revenue. So I play with their rules and I sit out my week, and I know the next time I get, go into Facebook jail, it's for a month. I know what their rules are.
Some people have been banned for life, and some people have been banned for 6 months, and somebody.
Yep, their company. They have the rule. Look, you don't, if you don't like it, start your own social media platform.
Somebody's trying that right now.
Yes, and best of luck.
Yeah. But
Facebook didn't exist for a while. LinkedIn is older than Facebook. Google Plus disappeared. So they come, they go.
MySpace is a good example of that.
It still exists for
mostly musicians.
All the musicians that are there. But these are not public airwaves. Your podcast isn't a public airwave. It's a private product. We're using, it happens to be put on the internet. We have to beware before we start screaming First Amendment rights that, if you're at the venue you're using. Now,
okay.
Let's say that you and I, we want to address the grievances we have against our government. So we go to the top of Pikes Peak, mile high, and we start screaming our thoughts. Okay, well, there we are.
Yeah.
Free speech, they won't arrest you.
But understand that those rights that we are given by the Constitution all have responsibilities that go with them as well. My right to free speech ends when it infringes on your rights. So if they want to ban me, they can ban me.
Yeah, I was asking, what should we apply the same rules for broadcast media as we do to cable shows? Should we do, because they're using a lot of, like, I know that on a radio station, that era is not mine.
I think that's above my pay grade.
Okay.
I'm going to defer on that to constitutional scholars who would have a better answer than I.
Okay.
I just know that it's fun to be on them.
Yes. Anyway, all right. So let's talk. Okay, we've got maybe what are like. Okay, I have a bicycle shop. I have 2 guys that work for me. I want to have a 3rd guy, right? I don't have like a lot of all this other stuff. I might have a website. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just have some social media. I might have a Squarespace website or whatever.
Ouch.
Yes. What are like 5 things I got to do to look at this person before I hire them? Do I need to have like a 70-year-old have a full FBI background check before they work at my shop? What are some of the things that
It really depends on what it is are they touching money? That lends a different level of security that you want to make sure they have. Are they an intern? Are they still in school? Are they studying under one of your other shop guys? I mean, there's so many different variables.
How much training are you going to give them before you turn them loose to repair bicycles?
That's more like a trade thing. I think a lot of things are trades. Like even when we put somebody on air, we just sit there and watch them. You just listen to them and you talk to them. You don't try to watch them directly, but you listen to them. But I think a lot of things are trade. But do we have everybody sign like they do a UI before they work for us? Is that something that
I don't know. Is that in your handbook? Does your handbook say that you're going to do a drug test? Do you have the funds to pay for those drug tests? Are you willing to take the consequences if they don't pass it?
Yeah, those are good questions. That's why I was asking. So,
but you have to have all those conversations. There's no blanket answer.
Okay.
The bike shop A may be willing to take that risk. Bike shop B is not. So there's no one answer.
What about I want to have someone work with I want them posting my blog stuff and things like that, right? Right. I want them to type. I know that they went to high school or whatever. They and then they pass all the stuff through me. What kind of background before I have somebody work on my website? How important is that channel communication? How do I say what age or what not age? What level of education should they have? What type of thing am I?
That doesn't matter. Did you look at their work? Can they put things in the language that you would use?
Okay.
Did you talk to other web development clients of theirs? Would they hire them again?
Okay.
I mean, they could be brilliant high school student. They could be a lousy college grad. I don't really care about their education. I want to see the product they're actually putting out.
So the product is important in that case. What about if we want to? Let's turn to if we're going to be fair with everybody that comes through the door, right? And we want to live in this standard of fairness. How do social background's going to play into it? Like if I want them to sell high-end products, they should have a background to be able to use the product or be in that. They might be brilliant, but they don't. But to be able to get along with my clients. Famous cases, a guy would have dinner with somebody before he'd sell one of his cars. But in our society, how do we know? Is it okay to like look at it from an HR point? This person didn't go to college, so therefore they won't get along with the people I'm trying to sell with. Is that
how do we know that? Do we watch them in that scenario? Do we know that they can't get along with them? I wouldn't make a blanket statement that they can't.
Yeah.
I would role play. Let's do a scenario.
Yeah, the sales function is not necessarily a function of education. I think it's more a function of personality. Do you feel they're going to be able to sell? Do they have any kind of a track record of sales?
What's their emotional intelligence? How are they at reading people? How are they at communicating with people?
How do we rate emotional intelligence?
It's a conversation. Yeah. It's role playing, and that's what I would do. I would role play. You're in the situation. What would you do? Pretend I'm the client. Here's the scenario. What would you do?
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Yeah. Finding incredible salespeople. There's a bit of a skill and there's a bit of an art to it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any let's say I wanted to read a book and I was thinking I wanted to read a marketing book, right? And it was recent. What are some of besides your own book, what are like a couple of books?
Oh man.
Besides your own book, what's the name of that book anyway? What's the name of it?
We've got 6 of them. If you look up our last name on Amazon, you'll see the marketing checklist, the marketing checklist 2, marketing checklist 3, the Hows and Whys of social media. We've got several.
But
please go look. Or in fact, if you're listening and you just want one of them for free, send us an email and we'll send you the PDF version for free.
There we go. We hooked you up one way. That's like 20
absolutely
right there, right, or something like
we
that.
Just saved you some money. Send us an email. We'll send you one of our books, and honestly, we'll probably send you two.
Right, and guaranteed money back. Right, double money back on a free book.
Yes, you'll get double back what you invested.
That's right. Okay, so if okay, I like Guerrilla Marketing, for example, is a good book. Mm-hmm. I like Don't Make Me Think. I like those. What are some of the? Did I just kill your list? What?
No, I would. My default would be Think and Grow Rich from 1927, Napoleon Hill. If you've never read a positive mental attitude book, or you have and you want to know where they all came from, I would go back to the source and start there.
Okay. This kind of reminds me of a marketing thing. It's called The Secret. It's a book, but it's a cult in a way and stuff. And it's just the idea of that this is a secret, but it's out everywhere. Everybody can see it. And there's different calls. If I'm marketing right now where I'm used to going meeting people and I have a real hard time meeting people, right? I'm the guy, send Mike into the room and he'll talk to him until he writes a check, and Stephanie will say, how does he do that? Well, he just does that. That's what he does. That's his job. Anyway, what are some of the things I've got to make changes now? How do I make that change? This stuff can go on for another year or two. I feel that, especially if people don't get all vaccinated and things like that, this stuff could drag on. What are some of the things that, as a really good salesman, as you said, art, science, but it's also a feel thing. It's like getting your touches on the ball. How do I get my touches on the ball? What are the marketing things I've got to do?
Look, the main thing is, and this is not pandemic related. This is true online, offline. It doesn't matter. Who's your ideal client? Who's your most profitable client? Who are your favorite clients? Get really clear on those, the messaging to attract more of those. And then where do we put those messages? Where are those people already hanging out? Online, offline, doesn't matter.
Are they looking for information about what you do before they buy from you? So, well, do some webinars that teach them that, what you're trying to do is the sales funnel, if you're looking at it that way. We prefer to tell our clients, you want to create content and not short content, longer content that enables your customer to know that you know your stuff. You're trying to get someone to subscribe to your list so that you can continue to give them more information. So what you've done is you've gotten somebody that wants to gather information, then they're willing to subscribe to your list, and a certain percentage of those do become customers. So the goal is to cast your message in enough places that you're going to get enough people to subscribe so that you get enough people to want to buy and work with you. It's a simple formula.
Not always easy.
Not always easy. Creating the right messages where, that tends to be where we come in.
So do you consider yourselves story makers, story creators? They're like, I've gone to different company and they do what I do, but they say I am the lead story creator for the company, right? And I was like, That's an okay title, I guess, but
Well, he is the lead story creator for us, but for our clients, we want to tease it out of them. They're the story creator; it's their story. We're the business coaches that help to tease it out.
Okay. What are some of the things? Okay, let's be a business coach in a different way.
Okay.
I'm 18 years old, and I'm looking at spending $240,000 because I'm going to go to school, right? They can do my plan. Go to Weber State Brook, come out 80 grand in the hole, or about there, right? And that's just what happens right now. It's just because I never could make enough on my summer job to pay that $7,000-8,000 plus books plus eating and everything. Right, because you can barely make enough to live. What they want to work in public relations, they want to do, or they want to have a business, or they want to create something. They think that they've got the stuff, right, and they think that they want to create a business or something. Are you telling them to go to college right now? Or are you telling them that's not important right now? How much?
We're not telling them any of those things. It's not our job to tell them. It's what do you want life to look like? Let's look a little further down the road. What do you want life to look like? Let's see what's the best way to get you to that goal. If it's a job, okay, then what does that job require? Does it require education, a formal education, or is there a way to do it on the job training? If it's owning your own business, well, what kind? So we wouldn't tell any 18-year-old you have to go to college or you don't have to go to college. What do you want life to look like? Let's craft the life to give you that.
Michael, I don't know about you, but when I was 18, I was not ready to start my own company. I was quite a bit older until, one Thanksgiving, longest story short, my mom basically said, well, what would it take to start your company? And 2 weeks later it was started, but I was well into my late 20s. At 18, I had no clue.
No, there are some, and we always are marveled at those kids that are ready to be entrepreneurial. That's awesome. And we wouldn't tell them that they have to go to college.
Yeah, when we're 2 weeks ago, we were was even 2 weeks ago? It was last week. I was on Clubhouse, happened to meet a kid that is in college, and he has started a business where he puts really cool sayings and such on T-shirts. And we ended up being on the phone with him for an hour, helping him get a little focused. We found out where he was getting all of his shirts made, and I showed him, here are some of the wholesalers where you can get them. Here are some places where you can get them printed for less. I know this stuff because I just have the experience that he didn't. The only difference between us was I have several years of experience on him. But when we see a kid that's that as sharp as that one, it's all we can do to help them. Because if someone has that spark and they're in their teens or early 20s, oh my goodness, we want to blow on that spark and make it blow up. Mostly because I didn't have that spark till I was older.
Yeah.
College. College were the best 12 years of my life. It was great. But I know it's not for everyone, but I know it was for me.
Yeah, it's just the people think that it's a 3 years and done now or 4 years, and it hasn't been that way for a long, long time. It's usually 6 years now to go through college. And
I was fortunate. Fortunate it is. My last 2 years in school at San Diego State, I worked for the college newspaper. I was the top salesman 1 year in advertising, and the next year I was the ad manager. We had a record year. So at that point, I got 3% of sales, which meant I ended college with a surplus. I know I am not the rule.
Nope.
So
what do you remember what your tuition was at that time? So remember,
nowhere near what it is now.
I don't remember.
Like what?
I think it probably costs $25,000 a year to go to school, including everything. Probably rent, books, school.
I don't remember.
But San Diego State it's a California state school, and I was a California resident. At that point, it wasn't expensive.
But now things have changed.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. And, books are still outrageous.
Books felt outrageous then.
Yeah. Really? You want $45 for that text? Are you kidding?
Where can I get it used?
See, you want a great business? Print college textbooks.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. And get a deal with a whole lot of professors to print their book, to be the printer of their book and kick them back more than the publishers now do. There's a good model for you.
Believe it or not, we have spent 47 minutes and counting going for that's just amazing. It's been a lot of fun, but let's do some things that are important. Small businesses, they're going through, they can apply right now for PPP. You can get $50,000 for your small business, right? People have a hard time doing the paperwork. They've got to like the 12th to get it in. I think that they should have it on the 11th if they don't have it now. Are you and marketing? You can spend money on marketing for some for maybe 2 people that you might see in your screen or something. Anyway, you could spend that money. And there's some tax benefits for spending money on marketing because you're going to spend that money anyway. What's the worst thing happens if I don't do marketing?
Well, first of all, we prefer to say that you're investing money in marketing. You're not spending money in marketing. Worst thing, I don't know. It depends on your business. That we've met. I could say nothing, but we've met some folks that there are some businesses that don't need a lot of it, and there are some businesses that without it they shrivel up and die a miserable, horrible death. Their business, not them. We're not going to be the ones that say you've got to market, but we know that it makes success a little easier if you're doing it right. And even if you say you get all your business from word of mouth, we would refer you to wordofmarketing.com and you will get our response to that.
That might be a book that you guys wrote. Is that
actually? It's a blog post, and we own the URL, and it goes right to our website.
Okay, but they can buy books if they want to. You have 6 books. It's like this full college course kind of stuff that is easy to read and easy to understand, right? And
yep, our marketing books are a marketing course where everyone gets an A.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And then who does the editing? Who does the majority of the editing?
We have an editor. She's awesome, and she keeps trying to retire, and we keep pulling her out to do the next book. One more book, Terry. One more book.
Yes, our next book is coming out on our 30th wedding anniversary, this July 21st. It's called Partners in Everything, and it's going to be our most difficult book because we are not writing everything in it. We've interviewed a lot of other couples that are in business. And I sent her an email saying, okay, the book's going to be done. Are you willing to edit it? And she didn't answer for a week and a half. And all of a sudden I sent another email. Sorry, your first one went to spam. Yes, I will edit your book. And I did the happy dance. All of a sudden I am far more confident that our book's going to be incredible. Don't edit your own books. Find a really great editor. Behind Terry, we have 2 others we've been that have been in our minor league AAA system, and they're ready to come up to the majors for our next books. But always find a good editor. A good editor will make your book readable.
And where do you guys get graphics, or do you do your own graphics? Or
I do my own.
He is a trained graphic artist.
So you're a trained graphic artist.
Yes.
I started with Photoshop, and there wasn't really training for it because I was teaching the teachers how to use Photoshop.
Well, for me, it was it was Illustrator and CorelDRAW,
right?
And when you're in college for it, you just take courses and you keep up with it, and then things go digital and you learn, and you take more and more courses just to keep up.
Okay. How do we want to say what's our good things? I'm going to ask the HR person, what are things that we should do in our own company if we're just starting a company? What are things, and I'll give the marketing guy the shot. So, well,
you don't necessarily need HR if you're a solopreneur.
Yeah.
Then you don't even need HR. If you are looking to hire your first employee and you're having a conversation, is it an employee or is it a consultant? By the way, you don't get to decide. The IRS has rules about that sort of thing, and it depends on lots of things. So have a conversation with an HR consultant, have a conversation with a PEO. Some of them require 5 employees or more, and some of them allow the others. A professional employment organization. So they have lots of other small businesses in their under their domain, so to speak, so that you're the only one. You get to give your employees better benefits. HR has a place to go when HR needs HR. You get an employment lawyer as part of the package. Better workers' comp, because you're not just you and your employees, but part of a larger group.
Okay. If I own my own business, should I get my own insurance or not really worry about that? I mean, health insurance and things.
You've got to have insurance. We strongly believe that you need to have insurance, and talk to your business insurance as to what kind of insurance you need.
Okay. And how do I have do if I want to be an HR person, should I get a SHRM certificate? That
it depends. It really depends on where do you want to be. You know, are you working for small business or a large business, and what do they require? Are you going to be employed by a PEO? They have different requirements. There are variables. There's no yes or no. There's very few things in life that are yes or no. There's lots of different variables.
The answer to most of our questions is it depends.
It depends.
Are you the guru that sits on the mountain and the guy has a baseball bat?
No, we are not gurus. We're an oracle, but okay. We're not your marketing guru. We are your marketing oracle. That's a very firm rule, Mike.
Okay. So when I come to you now, I turn to the marketing guy. I had somebody. I said he won't carry business cards. He says, what are business cards good for? And I pay a lot of money for my business cards. Should we have business cards anymore? Are they useful anymore? Should we just?
If you want to do business with Gen X and Boomers and anyone older than that, yeah.
Especially when we're back in person.
This conversation comes up generationally.
Okay.
But those of us that are, 40-ish and older, we look at business cards as it's a way of determining seriousness.
Okay. So what's your, besides that seriousness, let's say we're a little younger. What is? I don't know if people even need a website. They need some social media.
That's just stupid.
No,
that's okay.
Social media is rented space. It's free.
Why would you don't
own it?
Why would you live in rental space and if you can own the property?
Okay, so you believe that it's important to have a website. And
understand there are a lot of companies that operate with a whole bunch of landing pages, which we put in the same category as websites because you own the property.
Right.
If you're trying to get by with such social media, long term, that's not a successful or sustainable idea for 99% of businesses.
It's fine to get started, right? We know lots of small businesses that start just with social media to get those first few clients so that then they have some cash flow in order to afford a website. Totally fine. Long term, you got to own it. Because what happens if you lose that Facebook page or that YouTube channel or right? You don't own it. You don't control it.
And
you don't. Yeah,
6 months.
None of us own that real estate.
Okay.
Why put your business in a place that you don't own and put all your eggs in that basket? Okay. Just put up a damn website.
So, what if? Okay, if I want to get a perfect, because you might know this answer, and I have a different answer for this, but. How much should I be? I want a professional organization to make my website, make me strong, build me an army worthy of Mordor.
Got it.
What? Yeah.
Got it. You know what? Tell you what, for most businesses, we can put up a site for about $1,000 to $1,200 that's going to be really incredible. And from a search engine optimization point of view, works really well. And it's not built in one of those free services that you see advertising on television all the time.
Okay. And
so budget out about $1,000 or so. And now remember, you're also going to, and you should budget out on a yearly basis. You've got to make sure that you're updating it. So there are expenses that go with it, but if you're going to have a business, it's time to put on your big boy pants and do it right.
You're going to need a writer and an editor to help you do that.
Probably.
And what's a good word rate? Like if we were to come to you and say,
for us, for what we charge to build websites, we include it.
Oh, okay.
Just because, again, our businesses run just like our coaching programs were created because we created the program we wish we could have found for ourselves. Part of what you invest with us when you're going to do your website is we include the writing. We always have our clients take the first run at it because they need to know how to do it. And then we sharpen it up.
Okay. So now let's do this. We're about done now. So, and what's the name of your business?
Yulof Creative Marketing Solutions.
And
you can find us on
with you. What's the name of your business? Ready?
Yulof Creative Marketing Solutions.
And what? How do we reach you? What are some ways that we can reach you?
You can go to yulofcreative.com. You can go to howtogettherefaster.com and book 30 minutes with us.
You can come to our Small Business Breakthrough Bootcamp if you go to planyourmarketing.com.
Is your 30 minutes, are you doing free 30 minutes for that?
Free, no obligation.
Yeah.
It's all about how can we best help you today.
Okay.
We know that a certain percentage of those calls turn into referrals because we'll do 30 minutes for somebody and they'll tell all their friends about us.
And that's kind of what's the difference between that and word of mouth marketing?
Word of mouth, we don't own wordofmouth.com, but we do own wordofmarketing.com.
Okay.
Because we think word of mouth is really word of marketing.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to talk us out just a little bit. We're going to cue the music. That is what's going on right now. We love to be with you. This is Michael Tanner with Dice Media Group. You can always reach us at dicemediagroup.com. You can hit us on Twitter, Facebook, all those other things. We got the big six and more. They'll be able to reach Yulof Marketing on like 27 different platforms. We'll be pasting it up tonight. Maybe they'll donate some of the time to write up their own write-up and work on the blog. I am not holding my breath. But I know that we want to meet with you and talk with you, and any way that we can help you, we'll do that. So reach out. It's Yulof Marketing. These guys have been teaching teachers and small groups of some 10,000 people or something at a time. It's really great. I will be your next host. Happy Monday morning. Again, whatever day it is, it's Monday at 6 a.m. for you. I know that you're going to go out there and get something. You be good out there and smile for all of us. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining with our show. We'll see you on the morning trip next week.